Hello and welcome to World Talks with me, Anna Kalczynska. Now turning to the east, where the so-called presidential elections in Belarus will take place on 26th of January. And yes, Alexander Lukashenko is running again, and no, he is not expected to lose. Now, the main opposition figure Sviatlana Tsikhanouskaya called on Belarusians and the international community to reject this farce. But do Belarusians still have the strength and enthusiasm to fight for democracy? To discuss this, I am joined now by Dmitry Bolkunets, political writer and analyst. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
To have you. So, Belarus announces date for Lukashenko's next election win, writes Politico in its most likely prophetic article, and the Belarusian president seeks his re-election for the 7th term in a row as he holds power since 1994, correct me if I'm wrong. Yeah. So is there any chance for a different outcome this time?
Yeah, you're right, it is so-called elections because there are no real elections in Belarus and it's fake. And Lukashenko told that he received 2.5 million signatures for support of his campaign. It's real unbelievable because nobody knows who signed these papers for support Lukashenko, because it's a real fake and it's real one of the boring company in history, because nobody knows name of candidates, because sometimes it's persons who have zero influence in Belarus. Mm-hmm. And Lukashenko, of course, he will re-elect it in his probably mind, in his opinion, because he very afraid of situation what that was happened in August 2020, and now he after that he close all media, all opposition leaders arrested or in immigration, and in so situation, of course, he will be a winner, but it's not in winner in eyes of Belarusians.
All right. So one could wonder, why organize any elections anyway? Why to call an election, since he holds all the power he wants? So
because the
situation is stable.
He think about democracy in his eyes. He think about some mechanism of some necessary steps for continue some organization elections or parliament elections, like presidential elections. But in this year it will be also interesting because Lukashenko now have zero support from Kremlin in these elections due to some agreement between Lukashenko and Putin. Lukashenko must go to retire, but he will continue to become a president, like he named himself. But Lukashenko also dreams about his place on the negotiation between probably Russia, US, Ukraine, etc. Because he many times last weeks thought about that he must be on this negotiation. Probably it's also why he decided to re-elect it in one time. Another way, Lukashenko this week planning to go to China for 3 days, because he wanted to receive support from leader of China, because he waiting support from Putin and not enough support, and he probably will have some opportunities to receive money and receive support from China.
All right. So, as you rightly pointed out, the presidential elections in 2020 were condemned across Europe. The West ignited, were ignited, and that they also were continued by mass protests that almost led to Lukashenko's fall. What would have to happen now to for the people, Belarusian people, to stand up massively?
I think on this day, on the day of so-called elections, people stay at home, most of them. yes, they must be under pressure of government, especially people who are working on the state enterprises, etc. But most of them will stay at home and waiting changes, because in a concentration camp it's not possible to organize some protest, because now situation is real terrible, and people arrested every day due to some due to some protest that was 5 years ago. Lukashenko continue arrest people every day. Yes, it's real terrible, and people lose job and must be to left country, just stay outside country in immigration. And Lukashenko will be probably he will be waiting some opportunities to stay for a long period in his place, because he afraid about his future. A few days ago, President of Kazakhstan told about Nazarbayev, situation with Nazarbayev, because Lukashenko a long period study situation with political transit in Kazakhstan, and he also copy-paste in some instrument of influence after retired Nazarbayev in Kazakhstan. And when Nazarbayev lost his power, Lukashenko decided not to continue this game to political transit in Belarus. That is why he also probably decided to stay in power in one chair, not in the chair of so-called leader of so-called all Belarusian assembly, etc. But I think it will be a very important situation in Belarus due to situation in Ukraine and probably in Russia.
Why?
Because Lukashenko afraid war. Yesterday, Vladimir Zelensky told that Lukashenko in first day that this war was start. Lukashenko and Zelensky spoke on the phone, and Lukashenko asked Zelensky to bomb Belarusian oil factory because he wanted to provoke Ukraine to attack Belarus, and probably it's
to
also
get protected from Russia, right?
Probably Putin asked Lukashenko to attack Ukraine with Belarusian army on the first day of this war. And this is terrible, because Belarus is one of the very important place for this Putin war against Ukraine. Because after 3 years is real people afraid this situation in Belarus and in Ukraine, and sometimes I know that some people who stay now in Belarus, they believe that Lukashenko is very good because no war like in Ukraine, etc. That is probably it's also terrible, because I think it's in some way it's very important to send messages for Belarusians using independent media, using some opinion leaders, and send them messages what will be happened in near future, what kind of reforms we need in Belarus in future, what kind of and what place in Belarus must be in Europe in future, because in concentration
they see no perspective.
Yeah, it's very important. I think it's also Belarusians need these discussions, because now there are no any discussions. Lukashenko told for him is not interested, took part in these elections and took part in some discussions or some debates, because he haven't time. He told I have zero time.
So how about the spirit among the opposition leaders? I know that there are a number of decisions taken by the Minsk authorities effective of January the 1st, which may deter the opposition from pursuing the fight for democracy, like the child well-being can be considered at risk, right? When their parents are considered as activists, political activists. and then they could be liable for offenses under the Code of Administrative Offenses. Also a ban on fireworks.
Yes.
Also
confiscated property and also arrested. It's a lot of risk for people who will have their own independent opinion, and that is why there are no any independent candidate now in Belarus in so-called elections. It's a real dangerous situation. I am and my colleagues who are located in Warsaw, we decided to organize so-called elections in Warsaw, just a performance on this day, 26th of January in Warsaw, and we wanted to show that it's real fake, no elections, and we wanted to show for Polish people and for Belarusians that is fake, and we must to continue support any movement that will help us to change situation in Belarus.
How about the journalists still incarcerated by Lukashenko, Ihar Łosik, Andrei Poczobut, Andrei Alexandrov? They're still in prison.
Yes.
Is there any hope for them to being released?
Yes, they are still in prison, but from July last year, in the last 6 months, Lukashenko released more than 230 political prisoners. It's due to some policy from Polish government, and I think now we need more pressure for Lukashenko and send him once again very strong message. Close border for few days if Lukashenko not release political prisoners, because last time in July last year Polish government closed temporary border for all trucks, for all trains, and that is why now we have more than 200 political prisoners who now released. That is why we believe that it's very important now when Poland became a presidency in Euro Union, continue send very strong message to Lukashenko. Please release political prisoners. It's a humanitarian aspect. And I think it's very important for future Belarus in Europe.
Dmitry Bolkunets, thank you very much for your comment and for your expertise here. We very much appreciate it. And that's all for this edition of World Talks. World News are coming up next.